everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. This is Comfortably Zone Radio, and it's time for Dodgers baseball, a tale of two cities from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. My name is Peter Trunk, and as always, my partners are Ron Rabinovitz and Robert Cole. I would like to start the show off by creating a scenario of what if. And I know I'm personally not a big fan of people who talking about football or boxing or basketball or any sport really, and what if scenarios. I usually answer them if somebody brings that up at a party or a barbecue or something. I usually answer them, you know what? If Grandma had balls, she'd be Grandpa. You know, it is what it is, and it's not. You know, if doesn't count, but whatever. But I'm gonna do it anyway. I want to talk briefly about four Brooklyn ball clubs: the 1942, 1946, 1950, and 1951 ball clubs. And I want to talk about what ifs. Now we know that before they moved to Los Angeles, the Dodgers were very successful. They either finished first or second all the time, it seemed like. And I want to go back to in 1941, and we've covered this on the show, thanks to Larry McPhail and a bunch of other things, great trades, and the Dodgers won the National League pennant in 41. In 1942, the Dodgers were in first place in the National League late in the season. They were in first place by 9 1/2 games. And Larry McPhail was pissed off at Leo Durocher. What else is new? But Larry McPhail called Leo Durocher in and said, you know something? Your boys aren't taking this seriously enough. They won last year. They're ahead by 9 1/2 games now. All they do is play cards. They play cards. They gamble. Guys are winning money. Other guys are losing money. They play cards between games of a doubleheader. They play before the game. They play after the game. It's too much gambling going on in a clubhouse. I want you to pull the reins in a little tighter and stop them from doing that. And Leo said, yeah, sure. And, of course, he laughed that off and didn't heed that whatsoever. And the Dodgers started to come back to earth, and that 9 1/2 game lead came down to pretty close, maybe a 1-game lead or whatever. And St. Louis comes in to Ebbets Field in September, the 11th and 12th to be exact, and they beat the Dodgers. They beat them twice. And take over first place. And McPhail says to Durocher, I told you, you got to pull in the reins on these guys. They're too, they think they got it made. And so Durocher bans card games before and after the game in the clubhouse. And the Dodgers do pretty well. Their last 14 games, they win 10, lose 4. Their last 8 games of the season, they win 8 in a row. But they lose the pennant to St. Louis by 2 games. They win 104 games. This is a 154-game schedule, gentlemen. They only lost 50 games all year. They won 104 games in a 154-game schedule, and they still lost the pennant. I'm thinking, what if? Okay? What if they had won that pennant in 42? Now let's skip to 1946. The Dodgers finish the season tied, flat-footed tie with St. Louis. There's a playoff with the Cardinals. The Dodgers lose the playoff, and they do not win the National League pennant. Then let's go to 1950. 1950, the Dodgers are beating the brains out of the Philadelphia Phillies toward the end of the season, creeping up. And on the last day of the season, they got them beaten 4-1 I mean, they haven't beaten. They're tied in the ninth inning. Two guys are on base. Snyder hits a single. Now there's nobody out, and Miltstock sends the runner from second with no one out, and he, of course, is thrown out at home plate, which is a major, major mortal sin in baseball. The first or the third out, either at third base or at home plate. All you had to do was hold him up, and the Dodgers would have had the bases loaded with nobody out. They could have scored on an out 2 times in a row. One guy hit a long fly ball, would have been a sacrifice fly. Dodgers would have won the game. But anyway, there's another what if. Then we go to 1951. I don't have to explain 1951 to anyone.
No, you don't.
We know all about 1951 and the stolen signals and this and that and what have you. And the 4-1 lead in the ninth inning dissipated. Bobby Thompson hit one into the lower stands and Pafko at the wall. We know all that stuff. Here's my what if. My what if is if the Dodgers win the pennants, plural, pennants, in 1942, in 1946, in 1950, and 1951, they would have won 12 National League pennants in 25 years. That's one every other year. I'm thinking, here's my question, whether it's viable or not. Would O'Malley still have the guts to move the team to Los Angeles if they had won 12 pennants in 25 years? Robert Cole, what do you think?
Yes, absolutely.
I agree. Yes, too.
Yeah. O'Malley had no sense of history. I mean, he wanted out of Brooklyn. Okay, I'll keep it brief, but the main thing, my reason.
You don't have to be brief. You don't have to be brief. You and I have discussed this in the past that we think that O'Malley dragged his feet in 1957 so the Dodgers wouldn't win the pennant because he wouldn't have been able to move if they won the pennant. Well, I'm saying if they had won in 1942, in 1946, in 1950, and 1951, would he still have the balls to move the team after winning a dozen pennants in 25 years?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Here's the reason. Because
Go ahead.
Those pennants that you speak of, the earlier ones, 42 and 46, and even in 50, he was not the man in charge. It was still Branch Rickey.
Right.
The only other one that he would have won under his ownership, was 51.
51.
The other ones would have been Rickey. One of the main reasons, in my opinion, why he moved was to get out of the shadow of Branch Rickey. That would have caused him to want to get out of the shadow of Branch Rickey even more. Brooklyn Dodgers.
Okay, that's a good point.
Branch Rickey.
Very good point.
Ronnie, what do you think?
I agree with you. I agree with Robert 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Absolutely.
Really?
He would have moved anyhow.
Oh, yeah.
If the Dodgers had won those pennants in 46 and 42, 46, 50, and 51, that would have been very Yankee-esque, wouldn't it have been? I mean,
right.
When they moved out of Brooklyn, they had 9 pennants under their belt.
Right.
With those 4, they would have had 13 pennants under their belt, or 13 or 14, and it would have been a dozen in the last 25 years of their existence at Ebbets Field. I just thought maybe it would throw a monkey wrench into Whale Belly's plan, and that he would have. There would have been more. How can
Wouldn't have mattered. Wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It might have made it even more because those were Branch Rickey's. 3 of those 4 would have been Branch Rickey's wins.
Right.
Which would have made it even worse. You understand?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was bad enough, but no, I agree with you, with Robert. Absolutely.
All right. Okay.
Now, just to run back to 46 for a second, Peter.
Sure.
Okay. As you outlined, it was a brutal pennant race. Fights and beanballs and everything. Durocher went into Rickey's office late in the season, and said to Rickey, I want you to bring up Robinson. Jackie Robinson, of course, was in Montreal.
Right.
Right.
Rickey had plans. Everything was planned out infinitesimally on how he wanted to bring Jackie along. Okay. Durocher wanted him brought up late in 46 to give a little boost to the team. Rickey said absolutely not. They got into quite an argument over that. And just imagine if Jackie had been brought up, okay, how different things might have been. There would have been beanballs. There would have been spikings. There would have been fights. A lot of that might have been blamed on the fact that Jackie was a black ball player. Rickey knew all that, and he wanted no part of that. Okay, Durocher, all Durocher ever cared about was winning. Winning in baseball, winning in cards, winning at the horse track, winning at dice, because it meant money. The only thing Durocher liked as much as money were women. So all he cared about was winning, and he cared less about what it would do to Jackie Robinson and that whole thing.
Right.
That was another one of the things I was going to bring up too tonight, Peter. So since I started on it, everybody.
That's a very good point.
Everybody kind of gives Durocher credit for helping Jackie Robinson. The only thing Durocher ever did to help Jackie was in spring training of 47, when it was brought to Durocher's attention that some of the Southern players were petition around not to play with Jackie. Durocher brought them all together late one night. They were all in their bathrobes and in their pajamas, and Durocher told them what they could do with their petition, that he didn't care, who it was, what color they was, or anything else. If it was going to help him win, okay, it was good enough for him. Okay, that was the only thing that he ever did. Now imagine, okay, let's do another what if, Peter. What if he didn't get suspended, okay, and he was Jackie's manager all year? Okay, we know how Durocher was. If they threw at Robinson, okay, Durocher would have ordered his pitchers to throw at the other team. If they spiked Jackie, he would have ordered his team to start fighting, okay? Instead, Durocher wasn't there. Burt Shotton was there. Shotton, totally different manager, okay? And I have another
mild-mannered, right?
Yep. Okay. And Burt kind of let things happen, all right? The players weren't ordered to help Jackie, back Jackie up. They sat and they watched, and over the course of the season, they saw what a tremendous strain Jackie was under and, how unfair it was. And they started on their own volition, okay, to help Jackie and back Jackie up. But what if Durocher was ordering them to do that, okay? How different things might have been, right? Mm-hmm. So, I think the best thing that happened in that whole scenario was for Durocher to get, suspended for that year.
Suspended, yeah.
Ironically, Durocher was suspended that year because he had been alienating the affections of Lorraine Day, all right? Took Lorraine Day, who was a married woman, to Mexico. She got a quickie divorce. They got married really quickly. And our good friend Walter O'Malley went to the Archdiocese of New York and said, you folks really should step in because this is not good for the youth of Brooklyn, to be affiliated with a baseball team managed by this horrible man, Leo Durocher. And it went to Happy Chandler, and he wound up suspending Durocher. But again, what if Durocher was there all year? I mean, how different things might have been.
Right.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yep, very interesting. I guess it's good to play what if now and then.
Yep. Okay, the quick sidebar to that too with Burt Shotton. Okay, Burt Shotton, was tabbed by Rickey to be the manager, and Burt said, "I'm sorry, Branch. I would do anything for you, but I promised my wife I would never put on a baseball uniform ever again." and Rickey said,
"That's right."
And Rickey said, "No problem, Burt. No problem.
Wear your suit."
You become a manager, you wear a suit, okay? That way you haven't lied to your wife, and all is well. And that's what happened.
Yeah, that was
Isn't that
cool.
funny?
That was very
cool.
good.
Really cool.
That was very, very good. Yeah, I like that. The Brooklyn Dodgers are said to have been the front runners on a lot of things, and one of them was a team statistician. And the Dodgers employed, I believe, the first team statistician in Major League Baseball. And I'm going to ask Robert Cole to tell us about that. Robert.
Yep. Allan Roth was a Canadian. He was born in Montreal in 1917. Very interested in sports statistics. In fact, in his early 20s, he was contacting Larry McPhail of the Brooklyn Dodgers over a course of months. Finally, he was able to get a meeting with McPhail in Montreal, wanting to show some of his work and, get a job as a statistician with the Brooklyn Dodgers. McPhail, didn't think much of it, and Allan Roth finally turned to the National Hockey League. He became their official statistician for 3 months, and then Canada became involved in World War II. Okay. Roth, because of his propensity with numbers, was put in charge of all of the record keeping in the Canadian Army for a period of 3 years. He finally was diagnosed with epilepsy, and he got out of the Army in 1944. He then hooked on with the Montreal Canadiens and was the Montreal Canadiens statistician for a number of years. Finally, in 1947, he started contacting Branch Rickey. And a lot of the things that Roth believed in, Rickey believed in also. And he was showing Branch how you can, tell, whether a player hits better on the road or at home, better at night or better during the day, statistics against lefties, against righties. And these are all things that had always intrigued Rickey. And he wanted to bring Allan Roth in, but now he had to sell his two partners, John Smith and Walter O'Malley, and they were very, very hesitant to allow this to happen. Rickey was finally able to convince him to bring him on board for the princely sum of $5,000 a year. And he started, doing his thing. And he basically sat behind the press box, behind home plate, and he actually counted all the pitches. He said whether it were curveball, fastball, slider. He calculated all those numbers, so this way he was able to tell Rickey, certain batters hit better curveballs or they hit better with the fastball. Very innovative stuff. Nobody was ever doing any of this. And then Branch Rickey had to leave the team in 1950 when Walter O'Malley forced him out. O'Malley had none of the knowledge of Rickey. Did not know what to do with Allan.
He did. Right.
Didn't know what to do with Allan Roth. Wound up taking him from his spot behind home plate where he was doing all this work and sticking him in the press box. And Roth actually felt like he got demoted. And then finally, in 1954, he actually started to sit right next to Vin Scully during the radio and television broadcasts. And Scully and Roth struck up a really good friendship, worked really well together. Scully said any question they ever had within seconds, Roth was able to reach into his bag and come up with the statistics for them.
Amazing.
It really, really worked well. Roth went along with them to Los Angeles until 1964. Late in the 1964 season, all of a sudden, Roth wasn't traveling with the team anymore. And sports writers were saying, well, what happened? And the official word from O'Malley was that Allan got tired of traveling and decided to spend more time with his family. In reality, what had happened was Roth was seeing, dating, and traveling with a black female, and that crossed the line as far as O'Malley was concerned. He thought
my goodness,
that was terrible. That was going to bring all sorts of bad publicity, and they let Roth go quietly. Unfortunately, a year after that, in 1965, Roth wound up divorced. However, he then hooked up with NBC and ABC, doing their statistics. And for those who remember, watching the NBC games, sitting between Kurt Gowdy and Tony Kubek for 10 years was Allan Roth. And he did all the statistics for the game of the week for over 10 years. all of the statisticians, Bill James, Retro Sheet, Saber, they all credit Allan Roth with, refining statistics and, giving us what we have today. Now, in some cases we may have too many statistics, but he's the man that started it all, way back in 1947.
He sure was. He was a good one.
That's fascinating. That is fascinating. I didn't know half of the stuff that you just said. I do know that it was Allan Roth's idea, the Bat Jackie Robinson cleanup. That's about all I knew, and I knew that he was, if not the first, certainly one of the first statisticians for a Major League Baseball team.
And
I think he was the first.
Stuff. Fascinating.
I think he was the first.
One of the other little side stories to that, too, is we all know Dixie Walker was the, people's Church and, was the, big hero in Brooklyn. Allan Roth designed spray charts, which charted every hit and where, on the field the ball was hit. And he went to Rickey in 47 when he first started with the Dodgers, and he said, I'm noticing that Dixie Walker's balls are starting to go to the opposite field a lot more. And Rickey took notice of that, and he looked, and, Rickey's idea back then was always better to trade a player a year early than a year late. And that was one of the reasons why he wound up trading him to Pittsburgh. Okay, most of it was, people say it was because, he was one of the guys that started the petition, but it was also Rickey noticed that, his talents were starting to erode as well. Mm-hmm. And, these were some of the things that Allan Roth, started.
That's unbelievable. I love it.
That's really something.
That's great
I
stuff,
love it,
Robert.
Great
stuff.
Great.
Really
terrific.
Good stuff. Yeah, it is terrific. Very good job. What do you say we talk a little bit before we call it a night? How about we talk a little tiny bit about the Los Angeles iteration of our ball club, and they got a center fielder. The Los Angeles Dodgers did. They have not pulled the trigger on Corey Kluber, nor have they pulled the trigger on Bryce Harper. There's been some talk that the latest talk that I've seen is that Bryce Harper has stated he is not willing to take less years, as has been rumored, for more money per year for like 2 or 3 years. He's not interested in a deal like that. So I guess that really shuts the Dodgers' door on that, although we're all old enough to know you never know.
The Giants were sniffing around, too.
Yeah, you know what? That might have been, this is my opinion now. I don't know anything at all. I'm just guessing as an old baseball fan. I'm thinking that the hot talk about the Giants being interested have a lot to do with his agent trying to pressure the Dodgers into making a deal.
Right.
Because they don't want the Giants to get this guy, and they have to play him. They have to play against him 20 times a year every year, and I think that was the major portion of that. Although who knows? I don't know.
Who knows?
But
still here. Philadelphia's running there.
The latest statistics, if you want to call them statistics, I don't know if you call them statistics. But out of Vegas, the Dodgers and the Red Sox a month ago were the odds-on favorite to win the World Series. They were both at 7-1. Now it's the Yankees, 6-1. The Dodgers have fallen to 4th on that list, and 2nd in the National League. Houston Astros are rated ahead of them to win the World Series. I don't know if you guys are reading as much as I am about the latest stories about the Los Angeles Dodgers, but it seems like one of their principal owners, Stan Kastan. One of their principal owners came out with a very horrible
yes, he did.
interview.
Yeah.
Very horrible interview.
Horrible.
I listened to it. I played it. I couldn't believe. First of all, I couldn't believe it when I read what he said, and I said, you know what? They probably took that out of context. I'm going to play the tape, and I played the tape, and it was worse. He castigated the Dodger fans as not knowing what they're talking about, and they don't know the ins and outs of baseball, and only the Dodger front office knows what's best for the team, and, you know, stop this talk about we're not spending enough money and blah, 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 and this and that. I thought it was a horrible interview.
Yeah.
And
it was.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. It was like
I thought it was horrible too.
It was terrible. It really was terrible. I mean, he could have said it 10 different ways that would have been classier and gave the Dodger fans the video and you know, a little more hope or a little more whatever. It was horrible. Did you read any of those stories, Robert?
It was bad.
Yeah, I did, and I think what he was trying to say was, and he didn't say it, but he was trying to say that we have what he thought was a team that could compete, you know, without going crazy. You know, from the get-go, they've taken the stance that they want to get under the luxury tax. And most of the teams have. Now, like you were saying about the San Francisco Giants, I heard from the Giants that money was not a problem, but it was years again. And every team has said basically, okay, money is not the problem, and it's not. Okay, it's the amount of years.
Right.
And they're not going to go 10-year contracts. They're just not going to do it. And you know, on my Mets podcast the other night, you know, we talked about collusion like we did here last week.
Right.
I don't think you can show collusion on number of years. Now, if they were trying to do the money angle, you know, I'd say yes. But money does not seem to be the object. I mean, the Mets gave Jacob deGrom $17 million, you know, for 1 year this year to avoid arbitration. That's a $9 million raise, okay? Money, I just don't think money's the object, but it's the years, and that's where the fight's going to become. And Bryce Harper's liable to sit out the year if he's going to be stubborn.
Well, you know what? I don't think he's going to sit out the year. It's possible. I don't think he will. But I will tell you this. I also read that the Washington Nationals, who had the $300 million 10-year offer on the table for quite a while, pulled it back, pulled it off the table. And right there, a little ding-dong bell went off in the back of my brain. And I know you're going to get mad at me for saying it, Robert, but right away when I read that they pulled that 10-year offer off the table, collusion came into my brain. I know you're not a big believer in collusion by the owners, but that's the first thing that hit me.
Yeah, but once again, how long was it out there? I mean, it was there for him to take. Okay, $300 million, 10 years. It was there for him to take. It was out there. They didn't put it out on a Monday and take it away on a Tuesday. I mean, it was there. It was there. It was there. He kept saying no. He wanted more. He wanted more. Well, the later it goes, well, the more leverage goes to the team. Okay, so you know, I mean, his window is passed. Oh, okay. Well, we'll take that off the table. Now we'll give you 5 years. You know, we'll give you maybe 6 years. Okay.
Yeah.
He's young enough at 26, and the same thing goes
for
with
Machado.
Okay. They're both 26, all right? They could take a 5-year contract. And this is what I proposed the other night. Okay, you offer them a 5-year contract. At the end of the 5 years, if they did the whole 5 years, they're still only 31. Okay? But you offer them a 5-year contract. After 2 years, they have an opt-out. Okay? So you have 2 good years for us. Okay, you're now 28. If you want to opt out, you can opt out, and you can do the thing all over again. And I think that's
the big thing that people don't realize. They don't take it, and many times it flies past me until I really sit down and think, and that's the opt-out thing. The opt-out thing is a big, big, big thing, like you just said. After 1 year or 2 years, the player, if it's in his contract that he can opt out, it's like betting against yourself. If I'm the Dodgers and I say to Bryce Harper, look, I'm going to give you a 5-year contract that's $38 million a year, and you can opt out after 1 year. You can opt out after 1 year, and he says, okay, I'll take it. And then he has a year like 49 home runs, 140 RBIs, and he hits 333. He can opt out and go for something like out of the stratosphere, like something even bigger. So you can bet against yourself that way,
Yep. And he, like I said, he and Machado are both young enough. Okay, they're young enough. If they believe in themselves. Okay, go ahead and do that. Do a 5-year. Get the extra money. Okay, but they don't want to do that. They want both. They want both the security and the extra money. And it's just not going to work that way anymore.
Well, another thing is that besides Machado's ego and Harper's ego, there is Boris's ego, the agent.
Right.
And I think both of them are waiting for the other one to sign first so they could sign for more and get a better deal. Whatever the first guy signs for, the second guy is going to sign a better contract, quote-unquote better. And that's why neither one of them wants to go first, and it keeps on keeping on. They keep kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, a lot of people don't realize, I think the last number I saw was there are 89 free agents that haven't signed yet.
Yeah.
Some good ones,
Kershaw
too.
said something about that today.
Yeah,
Kershaw
he
was
made
interviewed,
a
and he said something about that today. He said it's horrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing for baseball,
Yes.
Now we're hearing rumors of a strike after 2021.
Right. I've heard that.
I don't think baseball can afford that at all.
No, neither side can afford that.
Right. Exactly.
But there's plenty of things that they can negotiate, that they can avoid that. But this thing with this collusion thing and want to be able to get these long-term contracts, baseball has no choice but to stick fast with that. Call it what you want, but 10-year.
It does look like collusion, though. It does look like collusion. There's no question about it.
Well, collusion in the respect that I don't know if it's full-fledged 100% collusion.
Maybe not.
But I think there's a portion. If there's such a thing as a portion of collusion, it would be, let's all agree not to give one of these guys 10 years.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. Don't give him 10 years. It's going to ruin it for the rest of us. And I think that portion might be. I don't think anybody's saying don't sign either one of them. Don't offer anything. No. Either one of them. I think it's the years that
it's like an agreement.
If there is any collusion,
agreement.
Who knows?
A gentleman.
Well, I don't think they ever sat down and said that. I think each of the teams in their own minds. Now, like we said, the Nationals had that on the table. Okay.
I don't think anybody sat down and said that either, Robert. But hold the horses just for a second.
Yeah.
Close the barn door. Let's say some guy calls up the owner of the Washington Nationals, like let's say the owner of the New York Yankees. He calls him up and he says, "Listen, asshole, don't offer him 10 years. You're killing it." And the guy says, "Go fly a kite." And a day later, the Dodger owner calls up the owner of the Nationals and says, "Don't offer him 10 years. You're killing us. And go fly a kite." A couple of days later, he gets a call from the Milwaukee Brewers owner or the Los Angeles Angels owner or whomever and says, take the 10 years off the table. It doesn't have to be collusion where they all got together in the same room, smoked cigars, drank cognac, and sat back and with their thumbs in their vests and said, let's collude not to give them 10 years. I don't think it's that, but I think they got a few phone calls, Washington did, and told them to take that silly offer off the table. That's my
I think so
that's
too.
my interpretation of how it went down, and that's
too.
I believe that.
Yep.
I really do. And I personally call that a form of collusion. I don't think it's a full out and out red-blooded collusion, but I do believe that that's what happened.
That's right.
I don't think anybody's going to offer either one of them 10 years.
No one is.
I would think they would be silly. I mean, me as a fan, if the Mets went out and tried to, offer a 10-year deal, I would be very upset with them. It's just not good business. And the only way they can get out of this, they did it to themselves, the owners. Okay,
yeah, right. Sure, they did.
And a lot of it was, George Steinbrenner. You had a maverick. Had a loose cannon in the room, and he could care less what anybody thought. He was going to do what he was going to do. He's not there anymore. Okay, there's calmer, cooler heads in the room now, and I just don't see it happening. I really don't.
Well, we've been talking on this show since before Christmas, trying to predict where Harper's going to go and where Machado's going to go, and then we tried to predict in January, and now we're halfway down the road in February. We're almost to the midway point of February. The teams are in camp. The pitchers and catchers are anyway. Since we're this far down the road, and we know a little bit, like Washington taking off the offer of 10 years and stuff like that, let's all make a prediction. Where do you think these guys are going to wind up? We can predict again next week and the week after if they haven't signed anywhere. Do you have any gut feeling on where one of them or both of them would go, Robert?
Gosh, not anymore. I thought sure that Harper was going to go to Philadelphia. I thought right after they pulled the trigger on the Real Muto deal that that was a precursor to them signing one or the other, probably Harper. Then San Francisco got involved in it, but it's this year's thing. I'm almost sure that if they would take a 5-year contract, they'd both be signed in an hour from now.
Right.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My prediction is probably Harper goes to Philadelphia and Machado goes to the Yankees. That's my prediction.
Well, the Yankees, the word is, and I'm sure Peter's followed it too, the word is that the Yankees are following things very closely. And I have a feeling that what the Yankees have told Machado's agent was, look, before you actually do anything, give us a call. And if you finally decide on a 5-year deal somewhere, we'll give you more.
Right.
They're not going to go 10.
The Yankees probably aren't the only team that has said that to both players, to both Machado and Harper. When you get your deal and you're all set, give us a call. We'll up it because we really want you. But we're not going to make any offers. You just go around. You do what you got to do. When you feel like you have the deal of deals, and that's the one you're going to sign with, just do us a favor and call us up. Tell us what the deal is, and we'll beat it. We'll probably beat it. And I'm sure there's a bunch of clubs that did that, and I'm not so sure the Yankees are the only one. I'm sure the Yankees are one of them. But I also think the Dodgers did that, the Phillies did that, the White Sox did that, maybe one or two more teams. My gut feeling is that here's my gut feeling. I don't think Bryce Harper is going to wind up a Dodger, but my gut feeling is that's his team. That's the team he wants to play for.
That's who he wants to play for.
And the team that Machado wants to play for are the New York Yankees.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying Machado's going to go to the Yankees and Harper's going to go to the Dodgers. If they had their druthers, if they could just pick a team, Harper would pick the Dodgers. Harper would pick the Dodgers. He'd be on all the billboards with LeBron out there. It would be right up his alley. He'd be on all the billboards out in La La Land with LeBron and maybe with Magic Johnson between the two of them with his arms around them. It'd be perfect. That's who he really wants. Whether he goes to the Dodgers or not, I'm less than sure. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's not. But that's the team he wants to go to. And Machado's team is the Yankees.
It's the Yankees.
Now, where they go, my gut feeling is I don't know, but I have I'll have to go. If I was forced to give an answer before we hang up the phones tonight, I'll go with Ron Rabinovitz, and I'll say that Machado will wind up with the Yankees and Harper will wind up with the Phillies. I don't know why I say that, but I just have that feeling, and that will be a nail in the coffin for the New York Mets, by the way. I just have a glimmer of, I don't know if you even want to call it hope, because I'm not a big Bryce Harper fan. But I have a glimmer of whatever you want to call it. For lack of a better word, let's call it hope. I have a glimmer of hope that when the deal comes down and they call the Dodgers and they say, look, here's the deal we got. Can you do better? That the Dodgers will do a little bit better and Harper will go to L.A. And that might happen as late as a month from now. It might be the middle of March. Who knows? I don't know. But that would be my gut feeling, and I do believe in the semi-collusion thing and with the time element, the 10 years. And, we'll just have to see what we have to see. I think it was a great show, though.
I think so, too.
The what-ifs on the Dodgers and the Allan Roth deal and the Durocher with another what-if, Durocher with Robinson in 47 and the what-if this and what-if that. And then we moved out to the West Coast just like we were supposed to for the show, Tale of Two Cities. And I just want to, again, thank both of you for your input and for making it a pleasant show. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
That was great. Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Good night now. Good night.
The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.